So, this is the part of my podcast where I am going to be talking to Era about the storytelling of their favorite video games and how their stories are told. So, what game would you like to talk about?
I don't know at the moment. It's like totally like 3 in the morning at the moment. But no.
Well, fair enough.
No, I mean, it's interesting how you can explain a story. Because you can explain. I'm going to talk about 2 games. I don't know if you've already said this in another podcast.
Right.
But, Metal Gear Rising and Guilty Gear. The one thing they do similar is tell the stories through songs. But it's just really interesting because, like, explains the character. You don't get much information with Metal Gear now about, like, the characters in that story.
Right.
But when you hear the same, like, you get to actually know the character in that more subtly.
Right, like lyrically,
Yeah.
they're able to, like, show the themes of each character.
It shows the feelings of, like, how each character, like, a good example would be Gesturing Sam, where,
Right.
he's questioning why he fights in that. And the only thing he knows is to fight.
Yeah, he's kind of lost his way, right?
Yeah, he lost his way. Well, in Guilty Gear, now we got a different story. So, basically, in Guilty Gear, what they do is because they have all the characters, fleshed out and that.
Yeah.
But you know what they do instead? They basically are like, so, like, we got our characters, I'm gonna be glad how it's gonna go. Then you realize the character's theme is completely different from the story. It's a lot. One, it slaps, and 2, it's so good. It's just super good. It tells the story very dramatically. I would say one of my favorite, like, ones that does it is the song Hellfire for the character Leo Wifeng. Basically, he's like a king in the game's universe.
Yeah.
But his song's about him having survivor's guilt and trying to get over it.
Right, you were telling me about that before.
Yeah.
And, so he's having massive survivor's guilt, and that affects his play style, right?
Yes, it affects his play.
Yeah, so in the game he plays a certain way, and the song kind of suits that. It complements
it suits that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, also one thing, while listening to the song, one thing the developers actually did, which is a bit different from the story, but they actually implement, characters. They've, let me say at least, like musical references in that.
Yeah.
Like, the song Cold Stone Crazy from the Queen. It's actually implemented into Hellfire, which is really cool.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it actually is.
And, I don't remember what that song was about. What was it?
Hellfire?
Cold Stone Crazy.
Which is a Queen song, that's all I know.
Fair enough. I was wondering if there is any, like, significance that song specifically played into Hellfire.
I mean, it shows, like, kind of shows more, like, character development in that, like, how it shows. Basically, what they do is, like, the character speaking, and that's like...
Well, I do like that the King's theme is played by Queen. That's pretty, on the nose.
You should watch Soul. You should see Soul Bad Guy. He's a full-on Queen reference.
Yeah. One of my favorite games is Hollow Knight.
Mm-hmm.
And its storytelling is more through, like, lore tablets and things that you can find.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the surviving characters tell you a lot about the world. So,
yeah.
You find out that you are the child of a king long dead, and your goal is to basically stop this plague that came over the kingdom, and that's all you really know unless you, like, dig into it, and then you find out, like, this was a civilization that had, like, wars, and it had cities, and it was, like, really in-depth, and you were only but one child that survived out of, like, millions that he had to try and contain this virus.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't... See, the thing is, I don't play JRPGs or that. I've played very few games. Like, the games I do play are fighting games, so
Right.
I'm used to how they storytell. But I'm actually also intrigued in the game development area and getting to the story stuff.
Yeah.
So like into my own fighting games, like I try, like you know how you have characters and that stuff.
Yeah.
I try to express the characters as much as possible while adding some of my references into it.
Yeah.
But it's just
Continue. Sorry, this thing's loud.
it's just going on.
Fair enough. Okay.
I think we're good.
Commence.
I mean, you guys have like so many things you can do with characters and that. Like, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I take some references from the characters and I put them into the story. Like, and here's the thing: you can story tell, not just games. You can do little games.
Right. Could you tell me a little bit about how the storytelling that you like from all of your games, how that affects like your campaigns and whatnot?
D&D campaign.
Yeah.
Well, you could just say my D&D campaigns fall, let's say the least, how the storytelling of anime and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like there's a lot of story to it and that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's great and that's what I really like. So I usually put my characters in that. Like, one thing I like about Guilty Gear is actually how they express their characters, because every character gives a life lesson in the games. Like, there's a quote from each character that says this person has.
And it's just kind of like associated with them, right?
Yeah, it's like, or like, there's like, let's say, you have Soul, who's like, okay, I'm gonna put as much effort, I just need to do this. I'm not gonna try to put much effort into it. I
Right.
don't care if you call me a hypocrite, but I'm better than you.
Fair enough.
And
But
you have, Kai, who is the honest, like, I want an honest duel. And Soul is kind of the more harsh one. We're not getting into Tekken, though. I can tell you
So-
we're not getting.
fair enough. So what are some other characters from video games that stand out to you in their storytelling?
I don't know about characters. Maybe I'm going to talk about two Tekken games as
Okay. This podcast was sponsored by Printer Machine. It is very loud, and we're having a great time. Please continue. Thank you, you beautiful machine.
Are you sure you don't want to do this online? I think you do it online.
It is perfectly fine. We're actually on a roll, I'm pretty sure, but in the case that this video doesn't come out right, I would very much appreciate it if you did send me stuff online if I needed it.
Like I said, I have the equipment to do it.
Fair enough. I still have to learn how to stitch these together. So.
And back to what we were doing. Oh yeah, now see, here's the thing. Tekken is interesting how they did it. So, basically how they do their characters, which is more so how they did it,
Right.
was, so you have the man Heihachi. He threw his son off a cliff. I'm serious about that. He
Just
did that.
threw him off, huh?
Yes, he did that. And then,
Is there a particular reason?
Because he wasn't a true Mishima.
Okay.
He's also kind of an a-hole, so.
I mean, fair enough.
But here's the thing. Kazuya lived. His son lived. And basically they have the story where he basically took like these devil powers or whatever it was.
Interesting.
Japanese stuff. And then Tekken 1 actually.
Yeah, how long are these, like, Tekken and Guilty Gear stories about, do you think, like, total?
Tekken, Guilty Gear could depend about, I would say the main games are about 5 years apart from each other, each game.
5 years apart, but how long do, like...
Not 5 years apart, I would say every 5 games into 5 years apart.
I mean, like, if you wanted to ingest all of the lore in one of the games, how long do you think that would take? Like, Guilty Gear. Like, how long do you think it would take to complete it? 100%.
Well, I mean, there's a full-on documentary about the whole Guilty Gear lore, which
Yeah.
It's like 4 hours long.
And what are the type of stuff that it talks about?
It talks about everything. And I mean everything. I mean, if
Fair
we're
enough.
talking like in game, like time span, between the games, I would say about like maybe 10 to 5 years.
Yeah.
In modern games, it's like I think like Xrd happened, like Strive happens after Xrd, like 3 days after Xrd or something like that.
Interesting.
A week after, and then
And Strife is the most recent
yes,
one, correct?
Strive is the most recent. Plus,
Yeah.
you're getting a story add-on to that.
Which
so.
is your current favorite to play?
No, I play all of them actually.
Okay.
I play them all. I'm probably mainly Strive and Plus R.
Okay.
Because I was just like, XR I have a hard time getting into it at times.
Yeah.
But no, anyways. But yeah, basically, now Tekken, and it doesn't take, it takes you like maybe like maximum like 10 minutes just to get into the full lore.
Fair enough.
But like, the thing is, what they did is they kind of ruined it for themselves. See, Tekken 4 was the last game that was very story heavy. It was very story heavy. It wasn't well received because gameplay wise. Basically, after that, they fired the writer and just basically got this really bad writer. So there's this character named Paul. He was meant to be a kind of porn rap reference. Yes, I heard that. But basically,
I actually think I know who you're talking about.
But basically, he used to be this really serious character. And that he was actually Kazuya's rival in the game.
Okay.
And when they get to Tekken 5, you know what they did to him?
What they do?
They made him a dumb idiot.
I mean, that's actually a common trend that I'm seeing with new like titles and like even in media in general is
Here's the thing. They made him a really big idiot. Not like he's really super focused on being, I'm gonna be the strongest in the world.
One of the best examples I can think of actually doesn't come from video games, it comes from a movie. I believe it's Justice League, the new one.
I haven't watched it. So.
Well, Batman in Batman v Superman is shown to be like strong enough to take on Superman, right? That's like the whole point. And you know, those movies you have to take with a huge like grain of salt because they are what they are. But in Justice League, they dumb down Batman and they make him very, very stupid to make him an everyman. And yeah, and it doesn't work well, especially when he is the detective of the group. And I've seen it as a trend.
Batmans, by the way, so.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, DC is a bit different. I mean, I can understand, like, it's still awful that they did that, but there's multiple Batmans.
Right.
Basically, he literally had a full-on depression arc in 4.
Fair enough.
For Paul, and like it was very good because basically, after the third tournament in Tekken, yes, there's tournaments in Tekken.
Fair enough.
Basically, he beat the final boss, didn't know there was a second form, and he left. After he beat that boss, and then basically Jim was like, okay, I'm gonna go kill him, yeah. And basically, once the King Iron finished the tournament, and then Paul was like, no, I did, and it's like, no one believes him, and then his believers stopped believing in him. And it really gets really sad because he lost literally everything.
That is an intense backstory.
And then like, well, you know what they do? It's like, oh, I'm gonna be the strongest in the world, bring it on, you aliens, ha ha ha. That's what they did in Tekken.
You know who that reminds me of?
And he's still like this in Tekken.
That reminds me of Azrael from Blaze Blue, where he's just kind of like the leader of a gang or whatever, and he's just like really, really strong, really beefed up, no magic involved in a world full of magic, and he's just kind of like there. He's like, I will take you on with my bare strength. Raw.
Oh yeah, that's because like, I think that's because he's meant to be kind of like that way.
Right.
I don't think, like, what I'm trying to say, this character was a big, serious character, then switching it, that's what I was trying to say.
Right, yeah. Azrael would be like if they kept him serious, I feel.
Yeah. It's behind a different person, behind the art system, actually placement, like, you're actually have some relations to.
Yeah. Well, and I've noticed a lot of trends in, like, fighting game media where, like, in Mortal Kombat, for example, the writing and stories has been kind of sidelined for new characters. and I feel like maybe that hinders it, don't you think? Like, especially in Mortal Kombat, where you can just kill off a character at any time, it's very hard to manage. But other fighting games don't really have that problem because they have a set in story, right?
Yeah.
And the new Mortal Kombat games have this, like, per chapter fighter system, which makes power scaling really bad.
It's not bad, to say the least, on the gameplay standpoint.
Oh no, it's quite fun.
I feel like it's not the best, though, because it makes every... But
Right,
you
well...
talk about killing off characters, I feel like I was disappointed when they killed off Scorpion. Like, I mean, like, not the new, like... I mean, the Mortal Kombat timeline's now screwed up anyway, so...
Yeah, but you mean the first timeline.
No, I mean, I'm talking about this game. I'm talking about 11.
Oh, okay,
When
yeah.
they killed off the new, like, the old Scorpion.
Yeah, Devora.
Man, everyone hates her now.
Yeah, which is weird because I kind of like her. She's kind of one of the few characters that I've kind of, like, leaned towards, if that makes sense. Like, she has killed tons of members of the cast. Like, she gets an honorary 1 death per game at least, I feel. Because she did Scorpion, she did Molina, she did Baraka. Like, all of these different characters have died to Devora.
All famous characters, too.
Yeah, and I feel like more characters should be like that in their stories.
Yeah,
I feel like that lethality...
You know what it felt like what it should have been? I feel like, maybe, like, if Scorpion and Sub-Zero got to, like, a brawl, and that Sub-Zero actually kills Scorpion.
Right.
And I feel like it'd be more interesting, more, new Cybot kills Sub-Zero. I feel like that should have been...
Mortal Kombat's story is...
awful.
Yeah, it got really bad, but I will give it some credit. Having people go back and face, like, their prior selves, like Scorpion meeting his older self, and, like, coming to grips with his loss was good. I liked that.
And it actually reminds me of that, because I've been working on, like, character interactions, where, like, having, like, characters from the past and the present.
Yeah.
And that, it's always fun when you have those character interactions. You never know how the person from the future is going to interact with the person from the past.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
So, and a missed opportunity that I feel like they just completely avoided in 11 was having Melina there. Because if Melina came back in time, she would have seen, like, everything happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she would have seen that her rise as Empress didn't, like, work out.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I don't know. Overall, there are a lot of different ways that stories are told in video games, and honestly, it was nice to hear you talk about mostly Guilty Gear, but a little bit of Tekken. Right, just your insight into these games.
Yeah, no problem. You can, I'm usually free anytime, so...
Yeah, thank you very much.